Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Random Reviews by EJBJ. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the movie Nobody. This movie came out in 2021. I finally got around to watching it because it stars Bob Odenkirk, who's you might be familiar with from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He plays the character Saul Goodman, or AKA Jimmy. Now let me see. This movie was actually created by the same creators from John Wick. And from what I understand, it was pitched as John Wick as Bob Odenkirk. Now, that's pretty intriguing when you think about it, because when you think of Bob Odenkirk, even as his character Saul Goodman, you just don't picture him as an action star. One of the things I will say about this movie that it is very action-packed. It's heavy on the violence, but it's also really comical. It's like they really turn up the intensity on everything, you know. So it's like there are dramatic moments where it's like you really feel bad for the guy, because you're just like, well, you know, what's going on? Why is his family treating him this way? I want to know more about how they got to that point. But of course, we're basically dropped into the middle of his life as just a mild-mannered family man. We don't know anything about his past. But eventually we come to find out when his house is broken into by a man and a woman. Now, he doesn't do anything to stop them, but his son comes from upstairs and he tackles the guy, and so Odenkirk's character, whose name is Hutch, he doesn't do anything. He just basically tells his son to let the man go. Now his son's looking at him like, "What? Why? Why would I let him go? Like, come on, Dad. We can take these guys, But ultimately, I kind of feel like maybe he's saying that maybe he might have overcorrected, and he mentions that later on in the movie. But I feel like he did the right thing, especially once he talks to his brother after the fact, and that's a whole another different story. His brother is played by RZA, and evidently they're both kind of like off the grid, where technically they don't really exist, where they've been classified as not alive, or they are in hiding, or just basically hiding in plain sight. So he tells them, basically, Hutch tells his brother that that they were scared, and he could see that there were no bullets in the gun. So now that kind of makes sense why he didn't resort to what he probably would have done in the past, which is killed them both. Now things escalate when his youngest daughter asks for a bracelet. I think it's a kitty cat bracelet or something like that. And he realizes that it was in a tray that had some cash in it. He pointed to the cash, and I think the guy grabbed some of the cash, so he thought that they took the bracelet. And so once he thought that they took something that belonged to his youngest child, he just snapped. And I think he had been in that routine for so long of not reacting and trying to suppress that rage that he was just done, and he had to go beast mode on him. So he goes to his dad's house, and you know, evidently his dad, who's played by Christopher Lloyd, which I find pretty hilarious in itself. But he's always, anytime he takes on a role, he's, you know, you can't take your eyes off him when he's on the screen. But he definitely did a good job playing that role of Hutch's father. His father was an FBI agent, or retired FBI agent, and Hutch was an assassin, or they call it an auditor, for those, what do they call it, the three-digit, the government agencies, three-letter agencies. So basically, we know he was a, you know, secret government assassin. And so he gets his dad's badge and his gun, and he goes out going to different tattoo parlors because he saw that the guy had a tattoo on his wrist. Eventually he finds where these two live, and of course, you know, he was right. They were desperate, and they were not really a threat at all. They were just trying to get money, evidently, to provide for their sick infant. And once he goes in and sees the baby, he like, oh man, I gotta get out of here. And they don't even have the bracelet. So, you know, but here's where it gets very interesting. He's on the bus, and you know, these thugs get on, they crash their, you know, luxury SUV next to the bus, and next thing you know, they're drinking, they're drunk, they're getting on the bus harassing the passengers, and he's like, you know what? He's about to unleash the beast. And he tells the bus driver to get off the bus because it's about to go down. And I'm just like, wow. Like, here's the thing. The movie is so gritty. It's like, he wasn't like, you know, a fighter that doesn't get hit and he takes out all these people with precision and all this. No. It was a brawl. He got bloodied, and he got stabbed, but he, like he said he was gonna do, he put them all in the hospital. And but the messed up part about it is one of their guys was the younger brother of a mobster, and so that's basically where the story takes a turn. And now he's got, you know, this high-ranking, you know, mobster after him, looking for him because he put his brother in the hospital, who ultimately ended up dying. And you know, I think one thing that I was curious about is how much Hutch's wife knew about who he was in the past. I don't think she knew much. I do know she probably seen him battered and bruised before, but he probably just would tell her he can't talk about it. And evidently they must have had some type of strained relationship or what. I really wish they would have showed more about, you know, what happened to him in the past. I mean, there was a few flashbacks of him going after this one guy who had stolen a lot of money, and he put the gun to his head, and the guy seemed remorseful. And so normally he would kill him, but he'd end up letting him go. And so he went to go check up on him a year later, and the guy was living a normal life in Idaho. And he had a wife and a child, and Hutch was jealous. He couldn't believe it. And so he wanted that for himself. And so that's what caused him to say, I'm out. I don't want to be an assassin no more. I just want a family. And so I think he realized, after some time that eventually all of that repression, eventually the person that he was hiding inside of him was going to come out. And but it's a lot of different things that, because at the end of the day, I'm like, what he did, was it right or was it wrong? Was he the bad guy? Because he did protect a girl that was on that bus, but it wasn't just to protect her. He wanted to hurt those guys. He wanted to take out his frustration out on somebody, and he took it out on them. And they all ended up in the hospital. So that's the only thing. I don't think you can call nobody or Hutch a good guy. He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy either. So it's just like, what happens when someone represses who they are for so long, and their buttons just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed until eventually they explode. But I would really like to see if there's a part 2, because the way the movie ended, it appears that there could be a second movie. But it was a great movie. If you like action, if you like comedy, if you like drama, I would say it was fairly predictable. But there were a couple surprises, especially with his dad, Christopher Lloyd. But yeah, it was crazy. It was like watching Saul Goodman become John Wick. But they say it might even be in the John Wick universe, which is also interesting. What if they did a crossover between Nobody and John Wick? But anyway, I definitely recommend this film. I give this movie a 9 out of 10, or 4.5 out of 5 stars. And if you haven't seen it yet, I think it's on HBO Max. Yeah, but because I watched it on Xfinity on demand, but I think you can watch it on HBO Max or Hulu. So, but I definitely recommend it. It's definitely a must watch. Well, that's all for now, and I'll see you next time. Well, all right.